Ooh, I got to brush quick today, Brother Craig.
Hey, you got to do what you got to do. I hear that. Time is a ticking.
Hey, for anybody who, if you hear a scream in the background, it's because we are literally waiting for his baby to come any minute now. Like, the reason we were late is because he thought it was time to go to the hospital about 20 minutes ago, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, yeah, if I just jet out of here with no explanation, that's what's going on.
Congratulations, man. Congratulations.
Thank you, bro. Thank you. Thank you.
Wow. It just seems like I remember when we were sitting down eating burritos and you told me I'm having a baby. And I was like, no, you said something that sounded a little too mature and responsible. And I was like, are you having a baby? And you're like, yeah. And I was like, oh, I kind of smelled it coming.
Yeah. You're really perceptive. I don't have to spell it out for you. You understand?
Yeah, I was like, wait a minute, where's the wild man that I was hanging out with? And he's like, no. But you know, I don't know. I said it like I was accusing him of something. You two are having a baby, aren't you? He was like, yep.
Yeah, you sure did. And
there are only a few things that can, break up the fellowship of man, and that's a woman and kids.
Right, where is Bond? Yeah, so it was one of those things where, like, I could blame COVID for that, because it's one of those situations where you either really love the partner you're with or you really hate the partner you're with. So, fortunately for me, it was the opposite.
Wow.
What's going on, Bilal? Welcome to the chat.
Welcome to the chat. Welcome to the chat. Well, what I really wanted to do was, because a lot of people talk about, for the expat experience, about families and not just missing your families, but I don't think that we get enough attention on the whole starting families. And, and that's one of those things that I'm just kind of, we get enough attention on the whole, hold on, my thing just starting family. There we go. All right. So what I really wanted to dig in with you today is, like, there's the easy part and then there's the emotional part. Like, the easy part is, we all know how much it costs to have a baby in the United States, but what bills have you racked up? I mean, everything from prenatal tablets to picking your hospital. What was that like financially here?
To be honest with you, I would have had to think twice about this if this was in the United States, because the prices would be something that you definitely have to think about. But to be honest, here in Brazil, and again, I can't speak for any other countries, but Brazil, everything has been incredibly manageable. From buying diapers to, and to, where we're going to have the baby. We actually had some options. I don't know if people know this, but Brazil has public health care. And so even though originally I had wanted to go for a private health care because I have good insurance and all of that, my girl was like, now she'd rather go to the public facility. Reason being is, in the city of Barueri, where she's from, it's all free. So if I wanted to pay for, to have a baby, it would have cost me anywhere between 2,500 to 500 or 5,000 reais.
Wait, okay, so stop for a second. That means at most it would have cost you $900 US.
Exactly, and that's, if something went wrong and there needed to be any surgical procedures, all the things that they do to have a baby, it would have cost me a total of 5,000 reais, which is unheard of in the United States.
Wow. And we just touched on something that I don't think enough of us talk about. The only people watching this video who don't understand what free healthcare sounds like, it's Americans. Every country taxes people. Everybody gets taxed into the ground. But in the United States is one of the few countries where, as part of what they give you back for your taxes is, hey, you get sick, we'll just take care of you. It's not even, I love Brazil. It's not even just a Brazil thing. It's just normal throughout the rest of the world for citizens. Now, you might have to pay a lot more for a phone or electronics, but healthcare, even the most repressive governments say, well, look, you can't be a good worker if you're sick, so we're going to give them all the medicine they need. Exactly.
I mean, they look at it truly like a right. It's not a privilege like it is in the United States, or a privilege if you have the money for it. So, for example, I'm going to have a baby absolutely for free. So we go to the hospital, everything is taken care of. When I leave, there's no bill. I just jump in my car and go back home. That's something that most Americans, or most Westerners for that matter, won't be able to relate to. And so, that's what universal healthcare is. So the only bills that I'll have are the ones that I rack up, or Bill Coltrane racks up.
Well, let's back up for a second. Since you dropped the name, I wasn't going to ask you to drop the name before the baby came, but go ahead and tell the name.
Yo, is this a BET exclusive? Is this a Black Expats in Brazil exclusive? Yeah, his name is going to be Coltrane Washington.
Coltrane Washington. And so you're not going to give him 17 middle names as if he was a regular Brazilian? He's not going to be mad when he grows up like, Dad, how come I didn't get 15 names like my cousins?
You know what? We debated hard about that, and Laura was like, "Nah, we're not doing that." So, because actually, I wanted to go that route. She went the complete opposite. Yeah, I wanted the royal title and all of that stuff, like most Brazilian people have. She was like, "Nah, he's gonna have trouble writing all of that stuff out. So let's just keep it simple." So that's what we did.
I'm surprised. I thought it would have been the other way around.
Yeah, for sure.
I know she's got, how many names does she have? At least 5, I'm guessing.
5 at least. Yeah, 5. I don't even know all of them. So yeah.
Wow.
Absolutely. So like I was telling you, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. Go ahead. Finish. So you're telling me?
So like I was telling you, any day now. So it's a big relief to know that I'm not going to have an exorbitant bill. Even if I had the ability to pay, it's not going to be something that breaks the bank. So you don't start off with a family, $20,000, $30,000 in debt like you would in the United States, even if you have great insurance.
Wow. So now you're in a situation where you said you were thinking about it with diapers. I don't have any idea how many diapers it takes to start this whole train going.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, let me back up. Bom dia.
Boa tarde.
Yeah. Hey, competidor de canções, Duas Família Brasil. Co-train, love it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Hey, and Brother Steven said it's an amazing name. It is. I appreciate
it. I have high expectations.
So with the mountain of diapers, like how many boxes, let's say if we count them in boxes of 12, how many have you loaded up on, just front loaded?
Now, let me tell you something. I knew absolutely nothing about it and how it goes. So I have to thank Laura for all of this. We probably got 800. And so I don't know how many boxes that is. I just know individually. So we just got literally this wardrobe behind me is practically full of diapers. And so for the first 3 months of his life, 4 months of his life, I think we should be set. And the experts are telling me that those aren't even going to last that long. That might last maybe a month, month and a half.
Really?
So, so we over prepared just in case. But yeah, we got a lot of diapers, And then you also got to think. I bought a bunch of clothing items when I was in the States because even though it's a little bit more expensive, the quality is a little bit better in the U.S. So he's got a ton of clothes for the first year of his life. Then you got to think of other incidentals. One thing that I did not like is they do a lot of flat pack furniture here. So you can't just go to the store and say, "Hey, I want that delivered to my house." It'll come in boxes.
You gotta get down.
Exactly. So you got to get your hand skills on par. So I've had to put together, cabinets, cribs, you name it. And of course, the relatives, they want to be helpful as well. So they're giving me a bunch of stuff that I got to put together as well. And so I had to tell them, "Hey, stop. You know what? I'm good. I'm good."
And when somebody comes over, if they don't see that baby table they gave you or the mobile they gave you for the baby because you didn't put it together, somebody's feelings going to get real hurt.
And with Laura's family, they won't hesitate to tell you about it. So you better have it out. Best to have it out.
Wow. I thought the conversation would be longer about the financial aspect of having a baby in Brazil, but it seems like you go have the baby. You don't have to worry about the bills. We pay through our taxes that we pay in Brazil.
Exactly. It's and it's when I have this conversation with brasileiros, they look at me like I'm crazy because when I tell them how it is in the United States, they act like we're like these savages that don't even belong on planet Earth because they can't conceptualize the fact that you got to pay out the ass, part of my language, for healthcare of any time. And when I broke down the numbers of how much it would cost to have a baby in the United States, for example, in Florida, and this is the last time I checked was a few years ago, in Florida, it would cost me literally $40,000 to have a baby. That's from the time, the woman goes into the medical center to the time she leaves. It's going to be about $40,000 US. They could not conceptualize of that. They even charge you for the luxury of skin-to-skin contacts. I was talking with a healthcare provider. They actually charge you for that stuff. So every little thing.
Wait. Charge you for skin-to-skin contact. Explain that part to me.
It's like if you, skin-to-skin contact is good for the baby. And so hospitals in the US found a way to make that billable. And so if I take my shirt off or my wife decides she's going to take her shirt off and, have skin-to-skin contact, they will bill you for that luxury. And
I thought when a baby, I mean, maybe I've been watching too many movies, but I thought when a baby was born, they pull the baby out, pull any spit out of his mouth, and you put it on the mother, and you take your first picture of her putting the baby on her breast.
But if I want to take my shirt off and have skin-to-skin contact, they're going to charge me for that because they advise
your own child. They can charge you for holding your own child.
They will do that for skin-to-skin contact. They found a tricky-dicky way to make it billable, which I think is absurd.
American medical system.
Every cup of water that you take, every extra whatever, the paper that the cup was made out of, they will try to bill you for it. Yeah, Ben Pitts, we are savages, absolutely.
We need to really get into a situation where we can talk about what was the incentive package that was put together to create the monster at the American health. This is not going to be let's talk about America. But we do need to sit down one day and have a conversation about why the American medical system is one of those things that's so deeply incentivized into just hurting you as bad as they can.
Yeah, yep, absolutely. And it's not sustainable. But yeah, but getting back to the Brazilian perspective, when we found out that we were pregnant, we had like I said, most things are free. We had a couple of choices actually, and depending upon where you live, you just basically interview with whatever the birthing place is. At first, we wanted to go to a place near Sao Paulo Central. I think it's called Angel's Heart or something like that, and they do this holistic, natural with the doulas and all that type of stuff, completely free. And I know in the U.S. that would have been at least another 10 or 15,000.
I know a doula. I know
Really?
a doula. She catches babies for a living.
Absolutely. Laura didn't want to go that route, but I think it's advisable for most women to have a doula for sure. But yeah, all of that stuff would have been free. The only reason why we didn't go for that was because we live in Osasco and not Sao Paulo. And so you had to be a Sao Paulo native. Even though we're right next door, they were like, nah, you got to be in Sao Paulo, the city. And so for that reason, we went out to the second option, which was going to Barueri, which is where she's from. And again, they have top of the line healthcare, birthing centers, just like any other paid facility. And so, except for me, it's incredibly free.
Oh, look at what Rule says here, though. Watch this. He said, hold on a second. Where's Rule? Oh, Rule said, always have kids outside of America.
That's a smart one.
Yeah. Now, what's interesting is that, a lot of my clients in the financial business who are very well off, they understood these things. These are things that I'm not talking about expats, but generally the Black population, we don't get a lot of those small tips and tricks. We have to start sharing it, in our own communities. For example, watch this. You want to know something really interesting that I found out when I was doing a little digging about what to talk about with you, because I don't know much about babies. Read that. Did you know that Erykah Badu is not just recently, but a long time certified long-term career doula midwife? Certified. Like, she's done it with a lot of available, and she does it for free.
Yeah, and I was about to say that doulas, they work for free. So yeah, how cool is that? How cool is that? Yeah, Western medicine is kind of tainted the way childbirth is supposed to be, and having a doula kind of goes back to traditional ways of having babies.
Well, what I was told was this. I was told this by someone who's in medicine. He said, here's the thing. Hold on one second. Let me go. He said 9 times out of 10, a woman can have a baby with nobody but her sister or her mom there.
Yep.
But if anything goes wrong, you do need a doctor.
Absolutely.
He said most women throughout history, but that's when you get to a situation where now we're living in so many unhealthy situations that we don't know, what's a healthy childbirth anymore. There is no more institutional memory of any woman in a family right now, in my opinion, knowing what it was like to help deliver a baby. I don't know anyone alive right now. Even their grandmothers have no internal memory of how to have a baby. Or also the concept, now, do they do babies flat here or sitting?
See, that's the thing about it. I know that it's supposed to be sitting is the way the new medicine is saying that it's supposed to be. So I'm not exactly sure how they do it. But I did want to say this. We decided to go natural vaginal, which is, most people get cesareans here. I'm not sure why that is, but I think most doctors here convince women to have cesareans, whether they need it or not. I think it's just because it's easier for them, more or less. And so I've had to stress very hard because we did like a preliminary check and whatnot that we're having a vaginal normal birth. And so just, if anybody's in that situation, if they decide they're going to have, have kids here, be aware they're going to try to force you to get a C-section. If you're fine with that, fine. If not, I would advise against it just because a vaginal birth gives the baby a bunch of, stuff that they'll need as far as immunizations are concerned. Yeah, those are the traditional ways, sitting down, letting gravity do its thing.
I'm not a doctor or a gynecologist or anything, but it just seems like you would want gravity to help you out as much as possible.
Yeah, and it used to be that way really until people started going to hospitals. And to be honest, the only reason why that was is because it was easier for the doctors to monitor everything and just pull a baby out and they could sit down on the job. But traditionally, yeah, you were either squatting or you were in a reclined position like what you got there. Yep, actually being in a bed and all that type of stuff wasn't really that common. And I just found that stuff out recently because I had no idea about this stuff.
I can imagine what your Google history looks like now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I never thought it would be that way, but yeah. Absolutely.
Wow. And how do you tackle the whole dual citizenship child?
Like, what do you mean specifically? Like how, logistically how it works, or?
Logistically, paperwork wise, like what is the plan that you guys have to make sure the child gets the best of both Brazil and the United States?
And so that's something that we both talked about. And so we will have a dual citizen kid. And so all it is for us is when he's born, as quickly as possible per the embassy website, you got to take, now with COVID, I'm not sure exactly how it's going to work, but basically his certificate of birth, you have to take that and have an interview. And then once the interview is complete, they'll type up his passport and all of that type of stuff. And anybody that's born to a U.S. citizen already has their citizenship. So just to formalize it, you got to go to the embassy and let them take their picture and have their certificate of birth, and then they'll notarize it and everything. And that's pretty much it. He'll get his passport a few weeks later, and he'll be ready to roll.
Wow.
And so for us, it was very important to make sure that he's aware of both worlds. And so you might as well take advantage of both. And so that's the plan for us. And so, the language, actually, he'll probably be helping me with language. So he'll be bilingual, so Portuguese and English. And so he'll be speaking pretty much Portuguese for the first couple of years of his life. And then we'll start introducing English at that point. Because
I don't know if that's possible because you'll be speaking English. So he'll just learn English from.
But you know what? And that's actually something that we did talk about. Because I was talking to somebody the other day and their kids are bilingual. They're like, no, just speak whatever language you want to. They pick it up so easily that they'll be able to speak both. And so rather than being kind of formal with it, we might just start speaking whatever we feel like, and he'll pick up on it eventually.
What's interesting is I know a pair of brothers whose parents, they grew up, their parents speaking German. And it wasn't until one of them was like 9 or 10, he comes home and he says, Mom. She said, yeah. What language do you speak? She was like, I'm speaking to you in German. He said, no. What's your first language? English. They had no idea that their parents were Americans because they made sure that in the house they spoke German because outside of the house they spoke English. And they were like, she was like, I never told you that. I never pretended anything.
Yeah. It was just natural for them. So I'm looking forward to that part. Brent Allen, triple citizen.
Is it? It sounds like. How do you do U.S., Nigerian, and Italian? Is that some kind of an interesting play? You need to tell us how you did that because I have never heard of two parents giving you three. Yeah. BK from the Rockies, thanks for showing up, brother. And I beat you to it this time. Everybody, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Our channel has been growing immensely. We've had so much great content coming up. We've had so many people able to share who they are and what they are with us that I'm really proud of this. Really proud of this. But
I remember when you first started, man. So you're a long way from when you first started. So congratulations.
Yeah. How you doing? How you doing, Jermaine? But yeah, that's just one of those, like, I guess you would just be normal. I mean, what I'm curious to find out is there going to be a bit of a, what do they say in the Star Wars movie? Aggressive negotiations over food? Because what a lot of people don't understand is that, for example, Sao Paulo, Brazil has some of the greatest cuisine the world has to offer. However, if you are Brazilian, 99 out of 100 meals are going to involve beans, rice, and Brazilian food. And they'll say, oh, I don't mind food from other countries. I just prefer to eat Brazilian food every day.
Facts. Let me tell you an example of that. So I was supposed to go into this, the restaurant is called Japão Restaurante. So it's supposed to be Japanese restaurant. Japanese people, no Japanese food whatsoever, minus maybe some sushi rolls. It was beans, rice, carne, beefy, porcal, everything that most Brazilians would eat, except it was served by Japanese people. So you're not getting away from that.
They are fiercely protective. And I don't care who you are. You can't go 2 straight days without beans and rice or something weird happens. I think it's like in the Constitution.
I know one thing. If my girl doesn't have beans and rice, it's like she will start having tremors. If she doesn't have it for like a couple of days, like having beans.
She's sitting on the sofa like this. I'm okay. I'm okay.
Or less. For sure. So yeah, they gotta have that beans and rice, man. That's a staple.
You gonna catch her out in the backyard talking to some strange guy, delivering a package to her. It's gonna be she gonna open up some carne, some beans and rice.
It's literally that bad, man. It's that bad. That bad.
Wow.
If your girl don't talk to you, she needs her beans and rice.
But you are gonna have to be responsible for bringing some good old fashioned American food values down there. Now, not that our food is the greatest, but you got to implement just some fundamental. These are the things you're gonna have to eat when you go visit the family back in the States. Absolutely.
So it's a work in progress for sure. Work in process.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Because if I'm like excited for you, I couldn't imagine sitting in your chair thinking about not only have you started a life abroad, you're starting a new family, baby Coltrane is coming. I can't think of any more drastic changes a man can have in the space of a year and a half.
It's about a year and a half. Yeah. So we're doing all the big life things right now, and I'm glad that I waited till now to do this, because I think if I were younger, I would not have been mature or selfless enough to be able to go through it at all. So I think for me, it's the right time for sure.
Well, I want to be clear. I don't think I'll ever be. Hey, Tailor-Made Dreams.
Tailor-Made, what's up, brother?
I want everybody to go check out Tailor-Made Dreams. When you're watching this in the replay, stop and go subscribe to his channel. Tailor-Made Dreams is a stand-up guy living in the Dominican Republic. He has stories that range from human interest to the volunteer work he does for children to doing things I don't talk about on my channel. But no matter what, you will enjoy watching.
Absolutely. I've watched the channel a couple of times, and it's always good content. Solid brother.
Yeah, he's a very stand-up guy. He'll give it to you straight. But so now, when the baby comes, my question to you is like, so are there specific COVID precautions for birthing a baby?
Yeah, so things are a little bit different than they would normally be. For example, I won't have access to as much as I might have had COVID not been an issue. So the way it'll be is when we get there, of course, we'll get her registered and all of that type of stuff. I won't have access to where they are until it's actually time for the baby to be delivered. And then once that happens, I get ushered out. All the pregnant ladies are basically in a ward amongst themselves, and there's COVID, precautions all around and stuff like that. So the main thing that they're doing is limiting access, which sucks for me because I won't be able to have as much access in those first couple of days. Also, they're shortening the length of time that women are actually in the hospital because of COVID. So normally, I think in Brazil, they do like 2 to 4 days, real casual. Now, within 24 hours, if there's no complications, they're getting you in and out of there. And that's kind of in line with what they're doing in the United States, even though the States has a money motive. But in order to keep precautions and to be precautionary, they're limiting the amount of time that people are there, and also limiting the amount of people that are actually exposed, to the women and the baby and the
I can see that. Because I know in the past you would have been able to have your mom and your sister there, and
right.
but it's like it's going to be bare bones. They don't want any contact. And I understand that. Tailor-made Dreams could knock me over with a feather. He said, I'm trying to make a few babies right there. I'm like, wow.
That's what's up. Do your thing, big dog. Do your thing.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. You have 2. That way you'll cover my spread.
All right. Well, you'll be Uncle Yusefl then.
Hey, I'll be the favorite uncle because they can eat pizza, watch horror movies, all those classic Japanese horror films that you're probably not going to let them watch.
Right on.
They'll come home trembling, scared to sleep alone.
Right on. Give me all those problems. Absolutely.
So check this out. Here's what it is in Brazil. Brazil is a country larger than America. So when you say that, you got to say, okay, well, how about Sao Paulo? And even then, Sao Paulo is a city 4 times larger than New York City, 3 or 4 times larger. So when you ask how is COVID, you can ask somebody kind of in their neighborhood, their barrio. I can tell you where I live. Famous story, I was walking to the padaria to buy some bread and butter to have for breakfast the next day. And I was on the phone walking down an empty street. Right before I step in, I put my phone down and I'm going to go, sneak my mask on. When I went to hit the bar to walk into the place, but my mask wasn't behind my ear, 2 waiters and a cook looked at me like I was going to get jumped if I didn't step back. Get out, mask. I was like, it's coming behind my ear. They was like, no. You have it completely on when you walk in. None of that I'm walking in, coming in. I was like, but I felt good about that. I can
Absolutely.
tell you that we are under another quarantine. They don't do what do they call it when they tell people they can't come home? They can't come out. What is that called? Because quarantine, we don't do the whole you can't come out. The way the Brazilian and Sao Paulo government does it is pretty slick. They can't make you stay at home. They can just make sure there are no businesses open that are not hospitals or a restaurant that's delivering food or Yep. And a supermarket, when they do that, the supermarkets usually have a woman standing outside and they only allow a certain number of people in. Right. 3Ds. We don't have lockdowns here. We don't have that. So no, it's not house arrest. There is no house arrest. There is no curfew. No.
Yes,
there's no house arrest. It's just the issue is you can walk outside, but you're just gonna keep walking around the block. Where are you gonna go? There's no place open. There's one of my favorite restaurants has a little area where they would have a guy with a guitar playing. No live music. We don't know when that's coming back. No restaurant open. All restaurants have that yellow tape you see in the what's that? NYPD.
Yeah, like the crime tape.
A crime scene. All restaurants have that across the door and a table. You can walk up from outside, tell them what you want. They'll box it up, give it to you. Boom. There you go.
Yep, it's pretty much the same where I live. Matter of fact, the supermarket that I go to, they got like, ultraviolet scanners and all that type of stuff. So they're really high tech with their precautions, and they limit the amount of people that can go anywhere. So to be honest, I feel safer here than I would in the United States. I was in the US maybe 2.5 months ago, and you got people not wearing masks because it's been politicized. You got people, not taking care of precautions. And I was glad to get up out of there, to be honest. And so even where I live here in Osaka, it's pretty much the same as it. We follow Sao Paulo's rules, so it's the same stuff here.
Uh-oh, you hear that? Hold on, I got to close my window. We're having a famous Sao Paulo, probably 20-minute rainstorm. Let them know where I go. Hold on a second. Let me close my window.
So for those that don't know, during this time of the year, between the hours of between 2 and maybe 4 or 5, you get these torrential thunderstorm downpours. I got my windows open, so as soon as Yusefl gets back, I'm gonna close my windows too. So yeah, it'll rain like crazy and thunder and act up for like maybe 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and then right afterwards it'll be like sunshine, like nothing ever happened. But yeah, it happens every day between around 2 and 5. I'm gonna go shut my window too because it's wide open.
Gotcha. Well, for us, here's the thing. For us, we're in a situation where you could literally go to lunch with somebody. Let's say you and your buddy go to lunch. You could walk in, have lunch. While you're in there, it could be this massive downpour you never saw coming. And when you walk out, it's dry again. Yeah, no carnival that I know of. They have a big issue because, of course, there are going to be people in the government who just want anything that's going to make them money. But fortunately, a lot of people in the Samba leagues were fighting against it. They were just like, no, we're not doing this.
Yeah, I'm sure it's like that everywhere.
Wow, I feel bad for you because I remember you telling me about, you had a rainy experience, but I think were you in Sao Paulo or were you in Rio when that happened for TaylorMade? So the weather, again, it's just a season. It's just a season. The reality is it's the worst day in Brazil is better than the best day I've ever had, for example, where I was born in Niagara Falls, New York. So you can cut that nonsense in half. It's not even I'm not trading that out for anything in the world.
Yeah, you got that right. For sure.
But that'll be interesting because you have a baby whose first 5 years of life will have been altered so substantially by COVID. I mean, the earliest things may go back to the way they were before, and I don't think they'll ever go the way they were before.
Absolutely.
But when in his childhood, he'll grow up carrying 2 bottles of sanitizer, one in his backpack and one on his school desk. And it'll be normal for him the way we carry pencils.
Yep, and it'll be normal to have a mask and all that type of stuff.
Yeah. He won't ever struggle with a mask or being inconvenienced because it's just all his life. Just wear a mask. That's what you do.
Yep. Interesting times, my friend.
Oh. So are you doing one with an option, or have you contracted out to the +1? Are you closing the factory?
If it were up to me entirely, I would close the factory, but I have to. There may be a plus. I'm at the point right now where I'm like, look, let's just see how it goes. We got this going on, so I'm not ready to close the factory up yet. So there might be a +1.
Because I know I got some friends that are like, babies are addictive. You have the first one, the second one is just like, oh, okay, cool too.
Right. So, listening to her relatives, they're all like, oh, if you have one, you got to have another one because, baby shouldn't be alone, blah, 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 blah. Right now, I'm not really trying to hear that. I'm just trying to concentrate on what I got right now. But in the future, there might be one more. We'll see.
Well, how many brothers and sisters does she have?
She's got, 5 sisters and 1 brother. And some of them are halves.
What is the league minimum in her family? Like, do you know anybody that has just one?
Nah. Nah.
Wow. So have you started the research on child education, where you want your child to go to school, how you want them to be educated? Have you dug into that stuff yet?
I've thought about it, but not really anything in depth yet because, to be honest, I'm not sure if Osasco is going to be the place where I want to be ultimately because of, raising a kid and family and, stuff like that area. I put some thought into it, but within the next 6 months of the year, I'll be really serious about it. Of course, everybody wants great education, want great access to education and stuff like that. There's a lot of good places in Sao Paulo, excellent places in Osasco as well. But I haven't put any real thought into it quite yet. But it's something definitely everybody needs to think about.
And for people who need a reference, Osasco, if you took the train from where you are to go downtown, let's say we go out for dinner, how long does that normally take you?
Osasco is right adjacent right to Sao Paulo. So I can literally walk from my door to the border of Sao Paulo City in about 15 minutes. So if I wanted to go to Central and have lunch with Yusefl, it would probably take me 30 minutes by the train. 45 minutes tops if there's some traffic or if everything's running slow. So between 30 minutes, 45 minutes is average. Where I live is particularly convenient because I'm in between 2 train stations. And so, 10 minutes in either direction, I can be in Sao Paulo within 30.
Wow. So, yeah, I've been trying to, on the low, pressure him into coming closer into Sao Paulo as I could. So maybe Coltrane will be the incentive.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. So there's a lot of things that we're trying to consider. So it's whether or not I want to be in an apartment or have a house. I mean, it's those things as well. Particularly if there's going to be another one in the future. Do I want to be stuck in an apartment or do I want to actually start looking at a casa with a little piece of
the other thing that you might also start thinking about is for, a digital nomad like me who can just, run like a vagabond. I don't ever want to own anything. But for you, now you're thinking legacy now. Do you want to own a stretch of land and a house?
That's in the works for sure. That's part of my 10-year plan to actually have a piece of property in Brazil, more than a piece of property. Now, whether that be just straight land or land and, homes and stuff of that nature, that's definitely something to think about. And I'll probably be going along that route as well. Because before any of this, I would have been exactly like you, Yusef, just, digital nomad. My hat is where my home is. But I got to think a little bit differently.
Wow. Okay. So for those who don't know, by the way, I'm going to also do this because right now Brazil is still a great place that you can get especially with the exchange rate, you can buy some pretty decent stuff here for fraction of what you would in the United States.
You could get pretty much a 200 square meter, which is, I don't know what that is in feet, for maybe between 75 and 80,000, and that's like living great. I mean, that's like mansion level type stuff.
Oh, if you drop 80,000 US on a place, you're gonna have a maid's quarters.
Absolutely. So it's definitely way more affordable. And the quality of life, at least for me, and I'm speaking for me, and everybody that's living abroad probably feels the same way. The quality of life is way better, less stressful than it would be when you're in the United States, for sure.
Well, think about what you just said. Let me share something with them. You said that the people considering living abroad or living that digital nomad lifestyle, people who don't know, for the 1 or 2 people who are new, that's a good chunk of what I do. I'll scroll down here and I'll show you. This is my LinkedIn. I tell everybody, no matter who it is, if you're trusting someone to do things for you that include visas and CPFs, make sure there's somebody with a reputation. Make sure there's somebody who you can actually look up. And I tell people when they come to my LinkedIn, I say, add me professionally on LinkedIn. What I tell people is make sure it's someone whose history is not a mystery. And so I'm going to go down here and I tell everybody all the way down here, you can always look at references. You can look at other business professionals that have said, hey, that guy Yusefl, he's who he says he is. He's legit. Trust him. And that's where I make my money. By people being willing to stand up and say professionally, yep, that guy's legit. So whoever you go with, and if you're leaving the United States, go for it. Make sure you do something like that. Now, we had a couple of questions I didn't want to ignore. Brother Velox said that the education discrepancy in Brazil is bad as the U.S. as far as public education. I'll give you my take on it, and then I'll let Craig take over. For me, public education here, if you take 2 people who graduated high school, one from the United States and one from Brazil, to the best of my knowledge, the person who went to a Brazilian public school literally went to school for half the amount of time. They have half days here permanently. And I don't think that a high school education is good enough for anyone right now, especially if you're Black, you're going to always need more. But I know that here in Brazil, I feel like high school doesn't prepare people for fundamental living the way American high school can prepare you to take $1 per hour job. Is that, Craig, you have to.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. My girl was the exception. She grew up, with Brazilian she went to Brazilian public school. And for her to have access to what we would consider, a decent U.S. education, she had to get additional schooling in order for it to work at that level. Basically, the Brazilian schools, if you go at that level, they just prepare you to get out and join the workforce at the most basic level. So anything more than that, you really have to get supplemental education. So to answer your question, it's probably a tad worse. I hate to say that, but it's definitely true.
So if you are a foreigner living in Brazil, one of your first priorities is to be able to afford to give your child a private school education, which let me Google something real quick. Cost of private school. So, because again, there are levels to it. There are places where, the diplomats send their children, but then there are also places where just a regular working family can send their children to get a good education.
And so for the people that have means or if they, have a way of financing it, most people will choose private over public. And it's sort of like that in the United States as well. And so when Coltrane gets old enough and starts going to daycare and beyond, we'll most definitely do the private school route.
Yeah. So let's see. I've got a couple of links for schools. I'm going to share this with the team in the comment section. Info on Brazil school costs. So if we go here, International Schools Database, yearly fees, 1,333. So if we take that, let's just say 133,000 BRL.
It's about 20,000, 22,000 per year.
Yeah, it's 25,000 a year right now for that. Now, for 25,000 a year in America, you're not going to a private school, buddy. Good luck. Yeah, so you have a lot of different options. You know, a Montessori school, 70 to 88. International Brazilian school. I mean, there really are a lot of options here, and you can afford them if you're still working in the American economy, which is what I tell a lot of people that I've been bringing over doing different things. A lot of them are thinking about, if I start, I'd like to start a family, you know, there. So,
yeah, if you have the ability to make American dollars, yes, there are. Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, BK pointed something out that I hope a lot of people didn't let that slide when you said my 10-year plan. I think we are going to probably have to sit down with some of the people watching and really go over what a short, mid, and long-term plan looks like. You know, because I think that a lot of people simply say, in the future, I want to do X. That's not a plan. A 10-year plan is when you say, or in any year plan is when you say, here's my goal, and here are the steps I'm going to take every week or every month to achieve this goal by this date. A lot of people don't get it. A lot of people don't get that. The fact that you said, hey, 10-year plan, yeah, there you go.
Absolutely. If you want any type of success, you always need to have a plan, or at least stick, or have an idea of a plan. Put it that way.
And BK said something.
I'm still trying to navigate that one out myself.
Well, okay, in Brazil, there is a thing called Serasa. Okay, and Serasa is the Brazilian credit thing that they have here, and like my credit score in Brazil is like 850, because newsflash, I don't use credit. I don't believe in personal credit, perhaps business credit, but people have wanted to argue with me for years. They always lose when I explain why personal credit is not a good thing. So business credit, here's what a lot of people do. The line of credit that we would be applicable for as foreigners who are making money in dollars and putting money into banks, we can get an extraordinarily high amount of credit. Like, I just had a sit down with my bank officer because she's trying to get me to upgrade to their elite level, blah, blah, blah membership. And it's all free upgrades. And they're going to give me an unlimited credit card. And I'm like, why do I need an unlimited credit card when you've never seen me charge up more than $2,000 and that's all business expenses? No, you know, this is free. Nothing is free. We don't charge you for it. You don't charge me for it, but you're trying to give me, you know, stuff that's gonna, I don't know if I want that. You know, because they're like, we see you put American dollars in, we know we can give you this elite class, you know, bank thing by your name. And I'm like, well, what does that do for me? Like, how does that put money in? Because my question is, how does that put money into my pocket? Other than putting an extra line of credit into my name and saying, you have access to money that you weren't going to touch anyway. We'll see.
Right.
We got another shout out, Coach, though, Dave.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you.
And Vlock said those prices we're quoting is not enough for a public college. Definitely not going to a private school.
You understand? Absolutely.
Brother Neil, welcome to the team. We're going to talk again soon, brother. BK pointed this out. A lot of the things that we're discussing are things that I also like to go into detail in a far more boring manner in my Patreon group. And I'll show everybody that the Patreon group is where a lot of us do a lot of, I always say Patreon is less fun, more business. The Patreon group is where we do a lot of roundtable business discussions. We have coming in, sharing how they bootstrap a business from the ground up, what business and fees they incurred, how we can do business with each other internationally. We have a very good circle of people there that help each other, that create resources for each other. So I'm going to put this here, and I want everybody, I won't go through the list of all these different things, what we do. What I will say is click that link, take a look at it. If it's something that you feel interested in, join, or if you want to contact me about it, that's fine too. But we built quite a community there. I'm proud of it.
Excellent.
So my other question then is now, are there any fears that you have having a baby in a country where you are not native to? You and I are citizens here. I mean, I have a residency. I think you're going to be citizen sooner than I will. No, we'll probably get our passports at the same time because I'm just waiting for the federal police station to open up to regular hours again.
Right. And I'm not sure how that's going to be with COVID. So I'm pretty much in the same situation as you are. So yeah, COVID probably it's going to make everything push back.
Yeah. And can you imagine that first 6 months when they do decide, okay, we're going to go back to regular hours? It's going to be just
sucks to be them for sure.
Well, I remember, and for those who don't know, when you get your permanent residency here, you go to the federal police in your city. They have a federal police building. It's basically like a city hall.
Right.
And every floor is someplace different. If you got to pay a parking ticket, you go here. If you're an immigrant, you have to go. And I remember going down there, and it's like sitting in the waiting room for the United Nations because you have countless people speaking countless languages all in line. Nobody have the correct information they're supposed to have. They're getting sent back. No, go home and get your other birth certificate, not the one from this country, the one from the country you're born in.
And you ain't never lied about that for sure.
That's kind of how my business got started. Once I streamlined the process and I helped a few people personally. Thank you, Jacoby, by the way. Once I helped a few people personally. So what are you worried about? Like, what do you worry about in a way that's specific, to an expat?
Yeah, well, specifically, it's just fear of the unknown because, I was in healthcare in the United States and I was pretty familiar with the system there. So everything was kind of familiar. Here, it's just because Brazil is culturally so different. It's just everything that I don't know that I should know that I don't. And for me personally, everything has to do with having better language skills and being able to navigate the paperwork that's necessary, like filling out a birth certificate and other things that may have to happen that I may not have the language skills for. But fortunately, I have her family and her that can kind of help me navigate those things. But for me, it's just fear of the unknown. Not being able to think about the things that I should, but I don't know that I should think about just because culturally everything's different here. And so in order to try to counteract a lot of that fear, I've just been reading everything, whether that I think I need to know or not. Anything that has to do with child raising, law, how to navigate him being a black male, police, politics, education. So for me, it's just fear of what I don't know. That's the biggest inhibitor for me.
Well, this is what I will also tell you. My company and my team are completely open to you because once the baby is here, you two are going to be very busy being parents. But if there's things navigating paperwork that you just need help with or picked up or dropped off, my entire staff is at your disposal to help you with that stuff.
Appreciate it. Absolutely appreciate it, for sure.
Because at the same time, I know as it goes on, I'm going to have more clients having babies, and I'd like to be familiar with that entire. Did you guys hear that? I don't know if you could hear that through the microphone. We just had one of those deep bass thunderstorms.
Yeah, we haven't gotten them here yet, so I'm sure they're on the way because we're getting the rain right now. So I'm sure that the God's going to be bowling around here pretty soon.
Well, here's the thing: the rain doesn't bother me because if anything, it just adds a little light cool. You just close your window. But I remember about 3 a.m. one night, there was a bang of thunder so loud that I heard someone's window break.
Yeah, for sure.
Someone's window bang.
I got a balcony door that's all glass. And last week we had one of those, killer thunderstorms, and the whole window to the balcony was just shaking like that. I thought it was going to break.
And I wonder how my apartment insurance and stuff worked with that because I didn't break it, but who am I kidding? I know I'm going to have to pay for it.
Of course.
Because I remember one of the deals we made when I got my apartment, and for those who don't know, I like to negotiate deals in cash.
Yeah.
I came, she said, all right, well, here's the price. And I said, oh, I like the place. It's got a nice little man cave feel to it, a little bedroom, a little living room, a little kitchen. But that price you're quoting me, how about you give me a discount about 10%? She was like, what? I can't, that's insulting. That hurts my heart. I can't give a discount. And I reached in my backpack and I said, well, I know my budget and this is 6 months worth of rent at the price I can afford. Now somebody's gonna get this money today. Now, if you want it to be you, that's fine. If you don't, that's cool. And she looked at the money. And I don't know if you remember that old movie, Total Recall, where the guy was talking to him and trying to negotiate and that one bead of sweat went down. Once I saw her sweating, I was like, oh, she's gonna want, if you touch it, when she touched the money.
That's it. That's it. Cash is definitely king out here. So I would advise anybody, any negotiations, if you got the cash, you'll get one. It's like, I just recently bought a car out here, and I normally wouldn't do that. There's other ways that I would normally go, but it was so cheap I could just pay for it in cash. And I got a super mega discount, all that stuff that you were talking about, all because I was ready to negotiate in cash. So yeah, cash is king here for sure.
Yep.
Most of anything that you want to get done in Brazil, if you got the cash, you could do it.
Yeah, they don't it's not a whole lot of if or when. It's like, do you have cash? Yes, you do. You can buy this. There you go. You know, and that's one of those things I'm really, really happy about. Just being here to have that level of ability to just negotiate cash things, cash deals. Because here, people trust each other, but they don't trust having to go through, and let's be clear, some people, I'm sure they're not reporting it all on their taxes. And if they can get, yeah. I'm sure on the book, your daughter lives here, something like that. I'm sure of it.
I'm looking at Mike Sullivan's comment. He's got 3 kids that go to school in Brazil. What city are you in, Mike?
Yeah. What city are you in, Mike? Tell us a little bit about your situation with your kids. If you without having to be too public on a public forum, but tell us your situation with your kids. How old are they? Can you give us, and I don't want you to say where your children go to school, but can you give us the price ranges of your children, what your plan is? Any details you can give us to help really enlighten on this subject would be really, really appreciated. So let's see.
And shout out to Florida. That's where I'm from as well.
Well, hello, Lady Buckner. We haven't seen you in a while. Good to see your bright, shining face. Yeah, cash is king. When they say cash rules everything around me, they are not kidding. Out here, absolutely. They said, look, what do you want? And because it's like Avenida Vinci Cinco de Marco. Out here, we have a street called Avenida 25. Literally, it's 25. The thing about that street is whatever your business is, whatever it is you do, whatever it is you need, you can go down that street and somebody's selling it. Now, they're trying to sell it in bulk, but you can get a good deal. And there's always guys standing around. What are you looking for? You can do everything from get the material to make your own Samba Queen costume to starting a business. I've helped some people do some business shopping down there by doing reselling, buying things, advertising them differently online, and selling them that way, just buying in bulk.
Like drop shipping type stuff?
No. Like, for example, a lot of women here sell bijoux, meaning rings.
Oh, okay, got you. Right, jewelry type stuff. I got you.
There, and let's say, for example, you know how those bright acrylic earrings are really popular? Mm-hmm. So they can go down there and find a store that sells them, but they might sell, the minimum box might be 500 red, 500 blue, 500 green, You can do all that and buy them at a discount, but then they'll put, they might get a cute girl to wear one on her ear and do this on an Instagram post, and now they're selling it. They might buy it for 50 cents a pop, but they're selling it for $2.
Gotcha.
That's the thing. But that's one of those streets where I know a woman who does turbanche business, meaning, Brazilian women wrap their hair, and she buys these turbanches and sells them to people outside Brazil at an amazing, amazing upgrade. There you go. You said you think you passed out on a walking tour? If you were on a walking tour, there was no way they were going to let you go down that street because everybody would just get lost. You would just get sucked in by the crowd. That would just be it. There's no, and that's an interesting thing. That's an interesting thing. I don't know if those will come back because for me, I always loved going down there. Even if I didn't have to buy anything, if somebody said, hey, I got to go down here because I got to buy something for my house. I got to go down there because I got to buy something, blah, blah, blah. I would just love going down there for the experience and the people and to see what they're selling and, to buy some juice on the street. Although I did get chastised because there are these people who sell shaved meat sandwiches. And I was told They're like, that's the lowest quality meat you can actually legally sell. That's why they sell it. You know, they shave it off.
Right. I did not know that. Okay.
But it tastes so good to be so bad.
They do. They're good as hell.
And this is what it looks like. And by the way, these pictures can be taken on like a Tuesday at 12 o'clock. That's not necessarily a Saturday you're looking at. You know, you can, okay, here's an example. This is what I was talking about with jewelry. Women will come here and buy, 50 packs of rings, 50 packs of bracelets, and sell them off again.
Right.
And that's what that street is like. It's just one of those places that you can get anything you need. If you look real close, you can see guys standing on the corner with signs in their hands. You're looking for phones, come over here. What do you need? I bought glasses down there. You can go someplace and they just have rows and rows of glasses frames. It's like, pick one. Yep. So I don't know if these days will come back.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that are going to change, and it's kind of sad to see it change like the way it has, but I doubt it'll come back in the capacity that it was. Like for me, for example, I love going to parks and stuff like that, and the fact that most of them are closed now, particularly on a nice day, in the mornings and stuff like that, it's always cool to go sit down in a nice park and go work out, or just look at the birds, if you will, and all of them are closed.
Wow. Well, were you were with us that day we went to Ibn Battuta Park, right?
Yeah.
Because we found they opened the parks again for public to go to, but they closed them on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday because they don't want crowds.
Exactly.
Okay, Mike gave us, although they already spoke Portuguese before we got here, they couldn't read or write it. That's where I'm going to get my butt kicked because I have to take a Portuguese exam, and it's not just speaking, which you can get through the speaking part, but Portuguese writing has so many add-ons. Whew.
And it's funny because even like native Portuguese or Brazilians have trouble with proper grammatical structure when it comes to writing the language. So a lot of them struggle with it as well. So I know for an expat like us, it's going to be damn near impossible.
Well, I think that's because Brazilian Portuguese is a mixture of Portuguese from Portugal. Mm-hmm. It also has an extraordinarily high amount of words. And I was in class once and I didn't know this until our professor pointed it out. A lot of words in Brazilian Portuguese come straight from Africa. Okay. And yeah, they just have so many words that the language just had to figure out what to do.
Mike also commented, I don't see the comment on your screen, Yusef, that he is in San Jose.
Oh, wait, so hold on, what was that?
The public schools are actually very good in this area.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's one thing they don't do here is they don't have diversity in like after school clubs. We had after school clubs for everything from chess to theater to sport. Here they don't. Here the only way you get that is if your children get into a paid program. Here they go to school and that's it.
Yeah, I was showing a couple of my Brazilian relatives, how everybody's got cheerleaders and stuff. They had no idea what that concept was. And so I was showing them who cheerleaders are, what they do. They had no concept. Basketball, football, swimming, soccer. It just blew their minds because they don't do that in Brazil. Yeah,
because out here, like cheerleaders, you mean when grandma comes?
Exactly.
So interestingly enough, BK, you understand that Brazil has the largest population of blacks, Africans, and Afro descendants outside of Africa. The slave trade was far bigger in Brazil than it was in the United States. And that's a different conversation for a different day, but slavery was very different in Brazil. Some people say they did slavery way better / worse, meaning their form of slavery was much more complex. And let's see, Naima, yeah, we're both in Brazil. We're both in Brazil right now. Why don't you come on down and visit?
Yeah, Naima, I've been here about 1.5 years, so I'm still relatively newish.
Naima, I got a small sofa, but you're a small girl, so but yeah, that's the thing. It's just one of those. When you look at how many influences that colonialism had, plus there are still words left in the dialogue of the native Indian people here. It's it's a wild ride. So their language has so many different ways that they put words together. I don't even know how to even describe it. They just put words together differently.
Yeah, they do. Absolutely.
You know, and they try to explain it to you like, oh, well, you know, when you do this word, you just do this to it. And I'm sure, you know, because they're native, yeah, that's for you, that's easy. For me, that's like asking me to fly upside down.
Man, I tell you what, let's see, 3 weekends ago, I was in the Campinas, and I had to do Portuguese for an entire 48 hours. At the end of that 48 hours, my head almost exploded. I know how people feel now, because you know, just trying to, you know, exactly. And it's, you know, and I wanted it that way, but it was like, man, you know, trying to do that translation, you know, from one and out the other, it takes a lot of mental prowess. But I'm glad I did it though.
That's the thing. It's like, I understand, and I have so much more compassion for people who I knew that were immigrants to the United States.
Yes, absolutely.
And you're right. If I go a full day of speaking nothing but Portuguese, and when I say a full day of speaking Portuguese, I have to be careful. That means I can't get on my social media. That means I can't take phone calls. I have to live in Portuguese. But at the end of that day, I'm just like doing this with my eyes. Like, oh man, why do I have absolutely. Because your brain is well, this is the thing though. There are certain phrases in certain places where I'm not thinking anymore. Like anything having to do with food, I'm not thinking anymore. That's already ingrained. But I'm at a point now because of the different business things we're doing when I'm talking about going to a bank official, making an appointment at different times. I can do it, but I've got to be like dead on.
Right. There have been very few situations where I'll just answer reflexively, you know, without actually thinking about it, and it'll just come out in Portuguese. But it's getting better and better now. But those moments of Portuguese clarity, I always appreciate them. But it's going to be a process. It's a while. Yeah, I've tried that too. Velic Netflix in Portuguese. Yeah, some of that osmosis does work. It works.
There is a show that I keep telling myself I want to get through, but I just don't have the time. It's called Reality Z. I don't know if anybody remembers that. Reality Z is about a reality television show. Hold on a second, I'll show you. It's a television show, a fictional television show in Brazil.
Oh, I did see that. Yeah. It's like a reality show.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Apparently, you know, the zombies take over, but it's a reality show, so people don't know exactly what's going on.
Yeah, I did see that when it came out. It was actually pretty decent.
So yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to do that. I don't know if they're doing a season 2 or not. Yeah, yeah. Netflix in Portuguese, like even regular shows, I'll try to watch in Portuguese. It's not that I don't understand the words, but when you speak at fluent speed, my brain is still doing this: word in, word out.
Exactly. That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at now. Yep.
Yeah.
And so what people were telling me is that, you know, I got a bunch of children's books now, and they say that that's one of the best ways to learn it as well. And I got some, you know, children's comic books and stuff like that. So hopefully that'll help me out a little bit. Did I go to Brazil alone? I went solo.
Yep.
I did not have a family when I went there.
Yep.
I had a 5-year plan, and I left in 3.
Excellent. Woo! Writing in Portuguese take practice. I like to write letters or cards as well as writing in situational context, like filling out applications.
That's actually a smart way to do it.
Yeah. My handwriting is shaky in English, so.
Yeah, I haven't even attempted to write in Portuguese other than, you know, basic stuff.
Like, buy me milk. Like that. When you say she's at the store and you text her, I need hamburger meat. And that's about it.
Yep. It's I tell it it's baby talk for me. So I know just the words to get my point across, but it's not nice, it's not smooth, it's not romantic, it's just what it is.
I can imagine you trying to be romantic in a language you don't speak. But here's the thing. When we learn second languages, you know, one of the articles I read about is they said when people learn a second language, you become a different person, and that person is nicer than who you are originally. Well, that doesn't make sense until you realize once you understand that you can't communicate with nuance, you have to be very careful not to offend people.
Right. And that's the important thing that you just said. Nuance.
There's no nuance. When you're speaking in another language, you don't say necessarily, excuse me, while you're in the kitchen, do you mind pouring me some water? It's more like, water for me. You're in the kitchen, right? They mean the same thing, but not really. One is like,
Exactly.
I get it. Let me show you how to say that in a way that doesn't make you sound like an asshole.
Exactly.
So movies and watch them over and over again so you're hearing and understand the movie at the same time that and listen to the music. They have some very good classics here. There was City of God and Tropa de Elite, which is a classic, cop movie that everybody's seen out here. Do they have? Well, I'm sure they do. I was about to ask the question that I was going to say. Do they have children's shows in Portuguese?
Oh, absolutely. There's a ton of them. Don't ask me what their names are, but yeah, Coltrane already has his Netflix and Amazon Prime account all set up, and it's all Brazilian kid shows.
Wow. One of my buddies told me that during the quarantine, he and his wife realized they started talking like children because they want to keep the kids happy and not strangle them. So they let them watch whatever they want on a children's show. But his son watches a show where one of the main characters is a fire truck or something. And so not only do they have to watch the show, he's also got the books that go with him and the fire truck that makes the sound. That seems like, all the way up until you have to see that every day.
Right.
Every day. And we were talking on video and he was hanging on to his sanity because he's like, my son is not a bad child.
So you asked me earlier if there's anything that I fear or if anything that I'm uncomfortable with. That would be one of them. Having to listen to kid stuff all day. Yeah,
you know what this is.
It's Bob the Builder.
But yeah, that's the thing. He said he has to remember that no matter how bad it is for an adult, we still have options children don't. And he said, Absolutely. So if some comfort in watching the same 12 episodes of this truck every day, he and his wife are just gonna have to grin and bear it. Because what else are you gonna tell them to do? Go to your room. That's inhuman. You're already stuck in the house.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can't necessarily say go outside anymore. Yeah, for sure.
No, well, what's worse, he said he saw some of his friends playing outside. Now, how do you explain to your 8-year-old that he can't go outside even though the other kids are outside and they're his friends?
Right.
That's a hard road to go down.
Yeah, all things that have to be navigated for sure.
How do you deal with that? How do you explain to him, that it's not like that? You don't get to choose. You have to stand because I said to stand.
Right on.
No.
Yeah, any more questions?
So here's what we're gonna do. You sent me something. Do you want me to put the thing you sent me on the screen, or was that for me personally?
I just want you to take a look at the total, just in case people had any questions about how much they would need per month, approximately, if they wanted to, have a family. I'm talking like, your partner and one child. And on the total is the average of what I spend, which I think is pretty much on par with the middle of what most people would have to spend. I'm sure some could survive on a lot less, and some might require a little bit more.
Dollars?
What's that?
Is this in US dollars?
No, that's reais. That's reais.
Okay, yeah. If someone is spending with, a wife and home bills at $3,000 mark, that's still, I tell people to bring at least, $1,000 a month to live on, but you're still going to do so, five total. Yeah, a grand. If you come down, I tell my clients, not only do I prepare them for the paperwork, but I tell them that when they come down, I would like for them to have $1,000 per month budgeted for the next 6 months so that they have time to get the right apartment, not an apartment they have to, rush into,
Absolutely.
Good afternoon, brother.
Oh, Ezra, what's going on, brother? Haven't heard from you in a minute.
So here's one of the things I just want to wrap up through real quick. Check that out.
Okay, yeah, good question. I did a Blacksit. I had found out probably right after Obama got elected that the U.S. wasn't looking like a place where I wanted to be. And so then I put forth a 5-year plan to leave. And actually, no, it was like a 7-year at that time. And so I had been planning and preparing to leave just because I didn't feel like my life was supposed to be in the United States. I had moved to Florida recently, and that didn't feel like home anymore. And I'm also an avid traveler. And I just noticed that every time that I left outside the US, I felt a lot better in my spirit, mind, heart, body, and soul. And then I took a few trips to Brazil, and I just knew that that was where I wanted to be. And so I made a plan. And then, on my birthday last year, I decided that I did not want to be in the US, and I just left. And so, yeah, for me, it was peace of mind, financial opportunity, and peace of mind once again.
But I think that's such a common thing to hear from Black Americans on the why did you leave? I left because it just wasn't safe for me. Mentally or physically.
Right, because I would have these issues because, like I said, like you, Yusef, you're well traveled as well. Like I would leave the United States and feel great, and then as soon as I touched down, there's like this impending doom came down on me, doom and gloom, and I could never really picture why that was until I figured out, oh yeah, I'm not supposed to be here. Wow. And so rather than talk about it, I just did something about it.
Well, one of the last thing I want to leave here, you dropped a word that I'm not quite sure everyone is familiar with. And you said Blaxit. You want to explain that to them? Sure.
It's a play on words from Brexit. And we took it on as Blaxit. And it's just basically Black people exiting in a responsible manner. And so what we've been seeing within the last couple of years is that Black Americans with means and opportunity are looking outside of the United States for their quote unquote American dream. And so we call it Blaxit.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the other things about it is this, and this is a different conversation. The people leaving the United States, generally speaking, are the best and the brightest. And that creates a whole different thing that we have to deal with. You know, how do we deal with that?
That's a long conversation, brother.
So thank you so much for taking time out of a day that I would say sleep light. Sleep light, because you never know. You never know. You're in a situation where, thank you, Reigning Woman. You're in a situation where, you know, I expect to get a call one morning and just hear a recording of
pretty much. So yeah, thank you guys for your well wishes. Much appreciated. And I'll send some pictures up as soon as it's available.
Yeah, and we'll have to do this again in a couple of months when you can peel off, you know, a half an hour, which good luck with that. From what I've heard, children are really time consuming.
That's what I heard. I'm about to find out. I'll let you know. Firsthand knowledge.
All right, I'm going to click in broadcast here. We can chat for a quick second off the screen. Everybody, thank you. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Check out the Patreon as well. Thanks for Crypto Real for showing up. Thanks for VLOC for showing up. I hope everybody has a great and safe day. I'll talk to you.